Hey, what's going on? Welcome everybody to the show today. Today is going to be a fun one. We are talking about what our potential commencement speeches would be to the class of 2025. Now, this is something we've been talking about wanting to do for a little while here on the show, and I actually got the idea from working with a client who's doing something similar. And so, really, the idea today is for Jyunmi, Andy, and myself, and whoever else joins the show as well, to just impart our wisdom, whatever we think that is, however we think we could help the class of 2025 be ready for a world that is drastically different than most classes before them due to obviously AI. This is a class reminding you guys that this is a class who started without ChatGPT being part of their process, part of their schoolwork, but they're ending 4 years later, assuming a 4-year degree. We'll just keep that. They're ending 4 years later, now with AI and chat tools and these things being a huge part of their learning experience. And of course, it's going to be a huge part of their career. So this is the Daily AI Show. Today is May 19th, 2025. And welcome to the show. Like I said, we have Jyunmi, Andy, I'm Brian. And this is going to be a fun one, guys. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this. I've been wanting to do this show for a while. We wanted to we kind of had to hurry up and be like, hey, it's May. We need to get this out. So today's the day to do it. Really looking forward to everybody in the comments who's joining us live. Welcome to Jude, Greg, Justin, who are in early on here. Thanks, guys, for joining the conversation. And please put your thoughts in the comments as well about, maybe an idea or a tip or something that you would say to the graduating class. And we'll do our best during the show here to also bring in your thoughts. We love when we're able to be live and interactive. Also, don't forget, you can join us really two other major ways. You can join us every single day. If this is the first time you've ever seen us, that's great. Welcome. Hi. But this is the Daily Show, and we do this every single weekday at 10 a.m. Eastern. So you can always join us live if you like. You can obviously catch us on the replay. This is episode 466. So we've done quite a few. August will actually be our 2-year anniversary. So we're ramping up towards that, and also episode 500. But look, even if you miss us live, obviously you can catch us on the replays and Spotify and YouTube and Apple Podcasts and all the places. But you can also continue the conversation by being part of our community. The way you would do that is going to the dailyaishowcommunity.com, which is going to take you to a Slack login. That's where we have our free community, and you can join the conversation anytime you like. That's our way of helping the folks that want to be part of this, discussion and conversation with the show, but can't always, uh, get with us live or just want to continue on the conversation. And we also have a newsletter that goes out. Just want to let you guys know about, and you can sign up for that. It's also free. It's also a great different way that you can get into the conversation. Just in ways that go above and beyond the show. Because even though we talk for basically 5 hours a week live, which is crazy to think about, there's always more. There's always more in the world of AI. So all those different ways that you guys can reach us. Like I said, if this is your first time ever seeing our faces, welcome. We appreciate you being here. If you really love what we're doing, come back day in and day out and join the conversation. Subscribe, like, and all the things. Okay. Good start to a Monday. Made sure I shared the things I needed to share, which always we get lost in the shuffle. Okay, Jyunmi, Andy, Karl, I think is going to be joining us here just in a second. He's back in the green room. Let's sort of talk about this. I'll let you guys know. So I took a shot at writing a commencement speech. I thought I'll give this a shot, but it's shorter. I didn't want to be talking for 30 minutes or anything like that. So at some point I'd love to share that, but maybe even before we get into that. And welcome, Karl. You just joined us as well. I would love to get all your guys' sort of thoughts on this idea because it's a fun one, right? It's like maybe someday, maybe I don't know, maybe one of you guys has been, a speaker at a commencement speech or stood up and talked to recent graduates. I'm not sure. I never have. Someday I hope to be invited, back to UGA to make a grand commencement speech there. But if I don't, I still like to think about how we could help this year's graduates. So how did you guys sort of come to this? Where was your brain sort of as far as working on this?
Well, I wanted to share with the graduating class of 2025 just some advice about what they should be preparing themselves for, because there are some incredible gains in personal and professional productivity that are available to them that were never available to us.
Mm,
It's an incredible amplification of them and their capabilities as they step out into this world full of possibilities. At the same time, there are economic disruptions that are driven by AI that, make that kind of a pothole-filled road for them that
Mm,
they think about carefully. So I thought just in thinking about what I would do, I decided to just stay on the side of, here's all these incredible tools that you have available to you now, rather than here's the frightening possibilities and you need to, kind of develop, some cautions around, what's gonna happen for you. That just seemed a little, uninspiring, shall we say.
yeah. You made me laugh because, you talked about the frightening thing. It wasn't my commencement, it was the year before me. I graduated in 2000. I wanna say it was the UGA commencement in '99, and for those that, remember Ted Turner, who was he was big in Atlanta, obviously. He owned the Braves for a while. He was also the founder and CEO of CNN, as well as Turner Broadcasting, big person. And, Ted Turner was kinda like a Ross Perot style person, if you remember him, and he would go off the cuff. He didn't have any problem going off script, and, he went off script. Whatever he had or somebody had put together for him, he took a left turn, and, it became a very memorable, probably for the wrong reasons, but I have, like, the most vivid memories of Ted Turner, and everybody kinda turning in the crowd and being like, "What what is going on? What is he doing?" So, anyway, Andy, you just conjured a memory of me of somebody who started positive, but clearly decided to take a different approach halfway through his
Went
papers.
off the rails, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Jimmy and Karl, would before we get into maybe like our advice here, I'm sort of affectionately calling this the class of AI. I really do think 2025 is unique in the sense that they started before, our sort of Gen AI explosion, and are obviously ending now, even comparable to 2024, where we are in 2025 and what this class has ahead of them and what tools they have, like Andy was saying. I think that makes them really unique. So, yeah, I don't know, Jimmy, what were you thinking about as you thought about this? How did you decide to sort of like formulate it? Speech, ideas? Where were you on this?
For me, I think it's ideas. I was never a fan of any of these commencement speeches and
Mm,
um, these opportunities to bluster about your future and all those kinds of things. Of course, my personal experience may tell on me for that. Yeah, so I did my class speech for high school,
yeah.
and uh, a little personal anecdote. I apparently got too real, and so my class advisors rewrote wrote it for me just before I went on,
Wow.
and I looked at it and I was like, "No, this is not going to fly." So I had a moment, or off the cuff, and
Yeah.
I just vented in front of the entire class. So yeah, high school horror stories. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, though, these opportunities are a way to highlight things that you may not have got from your normal curriculum, or to perhaps get the gears turning or the wheels turning on thinking about the future if you already haven't. Because I can tell you, when I went through the experience, they really didn't tell you, this is what it's gonna really be like.
Mm,
These are the kinds of first years you're gonna have. So maybe in for class of AI, as you put it, um, we should highlight these are your expectations. This is what not has not changed, and you should, expect this kind of, thing in the future, and what you can do to change it.
mm.
That's the
Yeah.
kind of way I took a look at it.
And now, Karl, I would imagine it is very similar in Canada, but since I don't know for sure, I'm only familiar, obviously, with the way we sort of see commencement speeches at universities and things like that in the States. Is this the same in Canada? Do you still have university commencement speeches? Does it have a different style or tone to it that you're aware of, or is it basically what we have?
Um, I think like for secondary, it's the same, or it's a little bit different, but for university, it's the same. I think when I did my undergrad, um, I wasn't paying attention because I had earphones in the entire time. I just wanted to get out of there. And then for my grad, um, I didn't even attend. I just got my grad degree shipped to me because I was like, I'm not bothering with this. I just never. I was like, I've always been the one when even like in high school, it's like, yeah, graduated high school. You get a pat on the back and you can't take it that seriously. This is how I thought of it. I know people think about it much differently, but it's like, yeah, so what?
Mm.
Right? So high school was so what? And then undergrad was so what? Like you got an undergrad, you and everybody else got an undergrad. And even my MBA, it's like, so what? You got it. Like it was never I never thought of it that way as a massive accomplishment. It's more of like it's like I don't care about the paper. I just cared about what I actually went through
Yeah.
and did it actually help me get to where I wanted to go.
Sure.
So like the papers never were a big thing for me. And I think but that's kind of so that's how I'm looking at this and um where I was a little bit more cynical about I'm getting more cynical about like what these things actually allow you to do
Mm.
and right? And could it be just the institution you came from? Um, right? Like how does that in or does it really matter now? Because you hear and see, I've got this many degrees, I've got this, and I still can't find a job.
Mm.
Or I still can't do so. But I do, and I'll get to it to where we're talking about like what's the advice because I think I'm not saying post-secondary education is not important, but
Sure.
the intent of why you should be going there,
Right.
I think you may want to double check before you just go there.
Yeah, 100%. So, uh, look, this is not the point of this conversation, but it's worth saying that at least in the United States, we have a huge problem where since the time I graduated from college 25 years ago, in fact, I think I was saying on the show last week was my 25th anniversary. I actually graduated on May 13th from UGA. And in those 25 years, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but college in general, tuition in the States has exploded by like 20x, something absurdly crazy, outpacing inflation by bonkers numbers. And also, what's to be expected on the other side of that college degree also has maybe changed a little bit. So I hear you because, like, I think it is part of the conversation of how do we, what would you say? We're in this hypothetical situation. We've had people who have, we're just going to say a 4-year degree. It's okay. I know that 4 years isn't everybody's cup of tea or whatever, but like, just to keep a hypothetical on this, we've had this class of 2025 has gone through university, college, you know, for 4 years. And maybe like a lot of people in the States, they're emerging with student debt. Maybe not. Maybe their situation is different. And now they're facing this world that is, look, drastically different, I would say, as in my opinion, than where they started just 4 years ago when they came into college. Which is really, really interesting. In fact, my daughter, who'll just be graduating from 8th grade, which is not a big, to your point, Carl, it's like it's a kind of like, all right, moving on to high school. It's a big deal because she's moving schools, but I don't think anybody would say, oh, 8th grade, that's a big one, right? It's like, no, it's
Mhm.
middle school to high school, and that's a big jump as far as maturity levels and all the things we know and stuff like that. But I was just saying to my wife over the weekend as I was talking about this show, I said, geez, like I think actually I feel like she's maybe in a better position because she's got 4 more years for things to sort of be sorted out and figured out a little bit before she would even get to college. And I almost feel like her being 4 years behind versus maybe being a high school graduate right now almost will play to her favor just because of the rapidly evolving and changing nature of what we talk about every day with AI. So I know. Anyway, I hear you. And I agree. Although I will say, I don't know, Andy, you didn't really necessarily answer this part. I'd be curious, but Jimmy and Carl, like, it's interesting hearing your feedback on it because as I read my speech back, not because I thought it was amazing, by the way, but I'm such a sap I'm such a romantic with this stuff. I wear my heart on my sleeve anyway, and it was making me tear up of a speech that I'm not actually giving to any one class. And I
I'm a
thought, yeah, that tracks. That's me. But that's like, I do. It's funny you guys talk about that because like I actually am a bit of a romantic when it comes to like commencement speeches. And, I do think they have, they can set people on the right path. They can have an impact. But it was interesting to hear your guys sort of like your experiences and stuff. I don't know, Andy, did you have a similar state? Do you remember anything about your commencement speeches or maybe perhaps one that you've given or anything like that?
I wish that in the moment of my commencement, sitting amongst hundreds of my classmates, I wasn't completely distracted, by that.
Mm,
Or maybe if the commencement speech had been given to us in advance and we had like a cheat sheet, an outline, I might remember it. But I have absolutely no recollection of what was said.
yeah.
It seems like a bunch of homilies to me,
Mm,
encouragement and sort of emotional reflections on this important phase of life. But now with the AI class, they have a very challenging future in front of them. Challenging not only in respect of, the possible difficulties, the normal course of a personal career is not as guaranteed, I don't think, as it was for my generation anyway. And at the same time, there's enormous opportunity that's presenting them. So they're challenged to rise to that, uh, to fulfill that opportunity, and they're also simultaneously challenged with the difficulties of, what does it really mean? I went to high school in Japan, and in
I
Japan,
don't think I knew that. Maybe I
yeah,
did.
I went to Yamato High School in near Tachikawa and Yokota air bases in Japan.
Mm,
And in Japan, there was this lifetime employment culture that happened to be extant at that time before high school. And Japanese people graduating from college and or high school could expect to join one of the Japanese companies and be there for life.
yeah.
There was a contract in effect that you join us, you be loyal and you come to work and we're gonna take care of you for the rest of your life. That's not happening here,
Mm,
right? And so it's daunting.
sure.
Things have changed dramatically since I started out.
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember that in my I don't know. I'd have to ask my dad. I mean, my dad joined TWA, which is a defunct airline for anybody that's too young and doesn't really remember them being around. But they were based out of New York, and my dad was a mechanic, came out of Navy Reserves. Situation that's similar. I think a lot of people would know this sort of story. Like he got home, his father said, "You have an interview on Monday. I've set this up for you." And he started as a mechanic, quite literally. Like got home on a Friday from the Navy, and on Monday he was at TWA. And this is, mid 60, 68, something like that. And although my dad didn't stay at TWA because the airline was faltering and the Lee Iacocca stages and things like that back from the 80s and 90s that people up north would remember, he had to leave. And so he ended up being at Western Airlines for 1 year, and then Western got bought out by Delta, which is how my family ended up growing up in Georgia. I grew up in Peachtree City, Georgia. But that's because where a lot of the Delta transplants and Western transplants came from California. Anyway, I say all that to say he didn't go to college initially, but was in aviation his whole career. Not the same company, although I think my dad would have stayed at TWA had TWA been a great, in a great position. He would have stayed at that company and moved his way up through it. And actually, my dad got his college degree from Embry-Riddle University. If I graduated in 2000, I think he got his degree in like 98 or 99 between me and my brother. My brother and I were both in there because it was getting to a point in his career where it was becoming a limiting factor, him not having a college degree. And, he went back and got it through Embry Riddle and stuff like that. So, Jen was saying it in the comments. I wanted to bring it up that, my mom never went to college. My dad hadn't, like I said. And so for me and my brother, college was a foregone conclusion. Like you are the first generation to be able to go to college and, that's something you're going to do. And no offense to my parents, I don't know that there was much of a plan beyond that. It was like, you go to college. And because of my own ignorance and then whatever, when I got out of college, I didn't have a plan. I had a degree, but I didn't have a plan. And I really did struggle and flounder for quite some time after college, not really understanding the job market, not really understanding what role I played in it. I've said this before, but I really did emerge from college thinking people were going to be banging down my door offering me a job because I had a degree. I now look back on it and I think, well, that was foolish and ignorant. But I truly didn't know better. I should have, but I didn't. As a wet behind the ears 21, 22-year-old, I didn't know better. And so I thought, I have a college degree. That's enough. And it wasn't. There was a hard reality that followed in the years after that with living in Orlando until I honestly became a firefighter. And the irony of that is I didn't need a college degree to be a firefighter. I could have started right out of high school. So I had a 4-year degree. And weirdly enough, the 4-year degree was actually in some ways detrimental to me as a firefighter because it gave the impression to some people that I was trying to be one better than them or a little uppity. How should I show up in a firehouse with a 4-year degree? Who are you trying to show up? What are you trying to prove here? That I'm not as good as you? I ran into a lot of that when I first started as a rookie, where I had some older folks in there that were, longtime firefighters who didn't quite understand why you would get a 4-year degree and then come back in their words, back to firefighting because I had other opportunities. Really, really interesting. All right. That's neither here nor there. Let's get into what we want to put out there as far as the the thoughts and for this class of 2025. I'd be happy to. Yeah, I don't think mine would take very long to read, maybe less than 3-4 minutes. Are you guys cool with me sharing my commencement speech, and then we'll get into your guys too and see? I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments as well. Let me know what you guys think as far as this commencement speech, or whether you think I hit the right tones or not. Whether did I say the right things, or would you have said it differently? I think that's the fun of this conversation. Okay, I'm gonna pull it over into this screen, so I won't be able to see my lovely co-host here, so I can read it in front of me. But I apologize. I obviously have not memorized this, so I'm going to be reading it right off of a Google Doc. Okay, here we go. Here's my commencement speech to the class of 2025, who I'm going to call the class of AI. All right. Good morning, graduates, families, friends, and anyone I promised a free lunch to laugh at my jokes and clap at the right times. First, congratulations. You earned today with late night study sessions, group projects, and more caffeine than I would care to calculate. You should feel proud, and you should also feel hungry for what comes next. Now, a confession. Despite my youthful good looks and undeniable charm, I'm actually graduated back in 2000. I know, it's shocking. In the 25 years since, I've done my fair share of pivoting, ran my own businesses, battled fires back here and at home in Iraq. I collected job titles the way some people collect concert posters. For a long time, I worried this zigzag resume made me unreliable. Today, I see it as my superpower. Moving from entrepreneur to firefighter to consultant forced me to stay pliable, bendable, ready to learn the next thing before the ink was dry on the last business card. Now, back in 2000, the next thing was the internet. We were dialing up on squealing modems, discovering that you could buy books without leaving your couch, and arguing whether email would replace real letters. Nobody knew where it was heading, but we jumped in anyway, building, breaking, and rebuilding as we went. You, the class of 2025, stand at the dawn of a technology leap even bigger. AI is not one more gadget. It's the electricity of the age. It will light up every industry, illuminate hidden possibilities, and occasionally fry a circuit or two. Your commencement lands at the precise moment when society decides how this power will be used. And that makes you pioneers. Think of the first sailors who left sight of land, or the early astronauts who trusted thin metal walls to carry them into darkness and back. Those explorers felt the same mix of fear and excitement many of you feel now. They succeeded not because they predicted every storm, but because they trusted their training, their teamwork, and their curiosity. Let me share 3 ideas for navigating this new sea. First, learn the language of the machines without forgetting your own. Master prompts, question every output, and understand the ethics behind the code. Yet keep practicing crafts no algorithm can mimic: storytelling, empathy, moral judgment. AI can draft a memo in seconds, but it still cannot look a colleague in the eye and know when to say, "Are you okay?" Second, treat change like a muscle. The more you stretch it, the stronger it gets. Block time each week to explore a new tool that you haven't tried. Fail fast, laugh about it, and share what you learned. In my firefighting days, we drilled on the basics until it felt like breathing because the real fire never waited for a perfect plan. Third, build a community wide enough to hold you accountable. You will shape AI policy, product design, and cultural norms. Surround yourself with people who think differently, who question your assumptions, who remind you that efficiency is worthless without humanity. Do these three things, and you'll not just keep up with the progress, but you're going to steer it. Some people worry that AI will make human work obsolete. History tells a different story. Every leap in technology, from steam engines to smartphones, created more opportunities than it destroyed. The jobs changed, the skills shifted, but the needs for curious, adaptable people only grew. You are entering a workforce that are a rare, coveted resource. You're adaptable by design. And look, the stakes are high. We look to this class to write responsible code, to guide lawmakers, and to ask hard questions about bias and fairness. In short, we will expect more of you than most classes before you. And I believe you're ready. So take a deep breath and feel the weight of that responsibility. Then feel the excitement that comes with it. You have a chance to drive a technology that could cure diseases, feed the planet, and solve problems we haven't yet named. That's not a burden, that's an invitation. So, graduates, I cannot predict every adventure ahead, but know this: if you stay curious, stay flexible, and stay kind, you'll handle whatever the future throws at you. The rest of us cannot wait to watch, to cheer, and occasionally to ask for tech support. Congratulations, class of 25. The horizon is wide open. Set sail. NC. How did I do?
That was great. And perfectly formal too. I think that would pass muster at almost any graduation.
I was hoping. I was hoping so. I was trying to make it feel, in line with what I would feel like a commencement graduation would feel like. I think a lot of I've listened to commencements that are very long and amazing. I've I've listened to some that are shorter than what I just said and have greater impact. So it's like trying to find that in between part of not boring people, but saying enough that hopefully a class of 2025, your 21 and 22-year-olds could possibly stay with the focus and not tune out too fast. So that's mine. So where are you guys on this? What lessons, what antidotes, what points would you want this 2025 class to share? If they were literally in the room with you, you'd be like, hey, you know what? I kind of deal with this AI stuff quite a bit. We talk about it a lot on the show. Here's what I think you need to know. What do you guys think?
I'll go.
Okay,
go ahead. Oh, okay, you go.
That was perfectly timed with both of you. Karl, you go.
I think we, and maybe this again coming from where I'm kind of looking at it from the eyes of the person who just graduated, right? Because there's too many things that are going on, so I don't want to be. I I hate sugarcoating everything, so I'm just gonna be dead on honest. I'd be like, and are we talking to people who are getting into the workforce, or are we talking to like like secondary students going into university?
People. I mean, the way I looked at it, at least, is people entering the workforce after a 4-year degree. Let's just call it.
After, oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think for me, what I would say is like you can't expect the expectation previously, and then what the narrative that you've been told that you just have to work hard. And not saying again, not saying that work hard is bad, but I'm like, just keep working hard and everything will, you'll reap what you sow. It's like that's untrue. Like you can see it. You could see things are more expensive. They are um any company could immediately terminate you at any time. So I think you have to take more control of your career, your wherever path you want to get to. You have to take, you can't expect, loyalty for any company. You have to determine, and this is kind of what I tell like any mentees to me. It's like, if you want to switch jobs, switch it as fast as you can. Like, get the experience and get out. Like, there's only one person really who's going to be looking out for you is you. And so be extremely greedy with your where you want to go. Do not like believe whether it's your parents or whoever else to say or previous generations above you is like, well, you need to earn your stripes. No, I'm like, go get your stripes now. There is no don't earn shit. Like, go get it. There's no wait your turn. If you wait your turn, you could be waiting for like decades. So, and you have all the tools at the moment to go get whatever you want to go get. So don't listen to, I guess, don't listen to what you're supposed to do. Just go and explore and go get it. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think there's some solid points in there, which is especially for this year's class, you can take anybody's advice and stuff like that. But anybody who's like, this is exactly what's going to happen in the next 4 years as it relates to AI, us and everybody else is doing educated guesses. So there has to be a weight in there, right, Karl? Like a balancing act of that, of the say, I guess, to the way I hear your point is, um, take advice. There's nothing wrong with listening to people who have been through things, and there's a lot of human skills that have nothing to do with AI that are going to be important. But when it really comes to like career and stuff, who's to say? Who's to say that somebody else is right or you're wrong based on how AI might affect a particular industry or across the board, you know?
Like and I think it's more about like if you I think you kind of, the the perception, and this is where you kind of see it, right? It's like the reason why and I was thinking we were gonna do this from the point of a person just graduating high school. So I was thinking about it differently where the question I would ask a lot of people is why did you go to post secondary? Like, why did you go do your thing? I'm always curious about like what the thought process is because it's always very interesting. But I'm thinking if the thought was you needed a degree to get a job, right? That was uh, I thought that's a lot of people went that route, and I went that route too.
Mhm.
The thought was you needed a degree to get a job, and to a point, I think it was true, but I don't think that is as the case today. Maybe like, all the schools and whatnot will get you certain jobs, but I was like, but you have like so many more opportunities to do different things. And you can sort of start to see, and maybe it isn't exactly today, but you're starting to see a lot of companies, the degree requirement isn't a requirement. It's like, well, okay, that's great. But I know for the past, like, what, 5, 7 years, I could give a crap about what degree you had. I just glossed I didn't even look at that. I'm like,
Mm.
"What did you do? And did what you do can you help me? Or can we train you enough that you have the necessary intangibles so we can train you on the skills to help this organization?" The degree meant
Some of those intangibles to you. I get what you're saying, by the way, but I'm just curious, like in your as you think back to, reviewing maybe resumes or CVs or something like that, you're like, okay, I didn't really care what your degree is.
yeah.
I cared what you do and how you can help me. Tell me some of those things that matter to you, because this could, for somebody listening to this, this could actually be really helpful to somebody.
Well, so it depends on what the organization needed at that time. So,
Mhm.
for one organization, what we needed is there was a term that you had, the glue. So, we needed people that could essentially be the glue of the company. So, the company is more well established. So, we need people who can not adapt, follow process.
Mm,
We need you to be we need you to hold the company afloat, essentially. We need you to be like stalwarts.
mm,
So what I needed you to be is understand process. I need you to not so much think outside the box, but think inside the box.
mhm,
And like there's certain things that I needed you to be so your past experience would heavily be I need you to hit the ground running because we don't have time to train you. But the things that you'll be doing aren't like totally overwhelming. It's just you need to be able to stay the course and be part of the team. I'm sure if I think about it more, there's a bunch of other stuff that I need to do. However,
And let me throw in another intangible. There was a major CEO leader who was lauded in the annals of management. He was the CEO, Jack Welch of General Electric,
Yeah.
and they put in place a culture where their entire the entire focus of their recruitment and hiring practice was based on what he called energy. Like in the interview, what level of energy or spark does that candidate present? And you know how in a conversation with somebody, you can kind of sense whether they're a little frantic or their energy is really calm and reserved and solid. And you have ways of assessing those things. But what they were really looking for was a level of energetic enthusiasm for the idea of working at General Electric. And it had to be authentic, right? So they trained each other, in effect, as a culture, to recognize and favor people who demonstrated energy. It's an intangible asset, right? It's hard to measure, it's really only perceivable by another human as far as, what you would bring to the conversations, what you would bring to the dynamics of the internal operations or the processes. And that's an intangible that if you have that kind of positive energy, then that will bode well for your future no matter what.
Mhm.
I so I wanted to, but what I was gonna go to, and you raise a good point, Andy, because if you worked at General Electric, it's a massive organization, and there's certain things that you can and you probably can't do. Now, when I'm hiring for a startup back in 2012, I wasn't looking for that. I needed people who are like, I'm entrusting you. I trust your skills. You go out and execute the best way you think is possible. I want you to break stuff very quickly, and I need you to do that. And I need you to fail fast, and I need you to innovate as fast as you possibly can. And take your experience, and I have full trust. There's a reason why I hire you to go out and do that. So there's to me, like, when depending on where the company is and what they're trying to do and the department you're trying to hire for, I think there's certain things that you kinda have to look at and the type of person that you're looking. Because imagine trying to have that innovative, break everything approach in a more established, heavy bureaucratic company. That person is going to be frustrated, and your processes can't adjust for it. And that's where I see sometimes you get one person, they're very like, it doesn't fit. And then imagine a person who's used to big, large enterprises, has well-defined processes being put into a startup or smaller company where there's no predefined anything. You kind of go off and do your own thing. And the expectation is for you to do that. That's difficult for some people and vice versa, right? So
Mm.
just understanding the organization you are hiring for and what you're trying to get them to do as the skill sets for both, right? Like it's two to me, it's two different skill sets. And also, what are you trying to do? Like from a management perspective, like what are you hiring for? A director, a VP, like different skill set too, and the type of leadership you want based on the company too. It's like a VP of a startup is a little different than a VP of, a more established company, size-wise too.
Gwen brings up I'll bring it up on screen here. She said, I mean, isn't school really meant to be internship practice? I think it's a really interesting point, Gwen. Thanks for the comment in there. Because I think honestly, no, only because I mean, meant to maybe is probably misses the mark for a lot of people. I can only speak to myself that I now looking back from my 40s, yes, I wish I had had a lot more experience in businesses during my college years because I think I absolutely wouldn't have um tripped and fell and misunderstood the market as much as I did when I got out of college. Now, I had a job most of the years I was there, like a lot of people. I worked for the university and I was around people all the time. UGA at that time had 30,000 undergrad students, or whatever. So I lived in a small city of college students, and that was massively important to me. Obviously, that all the things that come out of living on a campus and learning how to interact with people who didn't come from your hometown or different than you, had different ideas and thoughts. All of that is extremely beneficial. In fact, that is what I think I got out of UGA, not necessarily the value of the degree. And the reason I bring it up as a point is I'd be curious what you guys think about this. I can't say I would try to mandate this, but for my daughter, let's just say, if my daughter was graduating right now, I would strongly suggest to her that she tries to get hired by a company that is not remote and is in person in an office, because I think it's could be potentially damaging, especially as we look at AI, to not have those interpersonal skills and really have time to hone those in a low risk environment. Meaning, I'm in an office. Maybe I share an office with three other people that are my age, and we all have desks, but we have space or whatever. And the CXOs of the company, however big or small it is, are not too terribly far away. And there are people having conversations around lunch tables on lunch breaks. And there are people having interesting conversations in the break rooms and stuff. I love every bit about the fact that I'm able to work remote, but I love it at 47. I don't think it would have been very impactful for me. In fact, I'm very grateful for my firefighter days, because even though that's not a traditional office setting, living in that house, working in that house 24 hours a time absolutely forced me to improve my communication skills, not only with my coworkers, obviously, but every time I walked into a stranger's house on a fire call, EMS call, whatever it was, you had to really hone those communication skills. And it was pretty obvious when you messed up, but it was low risk. You were young and you had people around you that could help you. I do worry, in a very easy environment where people can work remotely from wherever, that you might have a 21 or 22-year-old sitting exactly where I am, and unless they have outlets like this and maybe the occasional Zoom meeting or whatever, that they're not going to get the same interpersonal skill building that they need to be really successful in a future of AI, where they will only be communicating with other people. They're going to be communicating with agents as their coworkers.
Generally speaking, I think like that would be correct. So I remember this too. Back when I was still at Benevity, when we locked down for COVID, and 3 years later or so on, the people who um looked at that, they had graphs of this and stuff from the 1,000 employees or whatnot. The people who had mental difficulties from like, I think they ran surveys about like depression and mental health issues, leaned not everybody, leaned towards younger employees, especially those who are first job,
Mm,
right? Just because you're on Zoom all day, you're stuck. Mind you, COVID's a little different too, right? You're kind of stuck and you can't really do anything either. So
right.
kind of sucks.
But it did force that, right? Yeah, it did force a lot of people to
100%,
be in
you
it.
couldn't even go out, right? There's no
Mm,
bars open, no nothing. I think though too, obviously depends on the person, because I'm sure we can find individuals are who are dynamic and being able to do that. But when you see it, there's people mature in different ways in their career, and
mhm,
some people obviously need more, some people need less. It depends. I'm not sure. In my case, I don't know what would have happened, just in my career progression and whatnot, if it would have hindered or helped that it's full return to office remote. Um, on the other side too, I do feel a lot of the senior leaders, presidents believe, hey, you know what? I grew up that way, so I think it's right. And I'm like, yeah, you grew up that way, but like we haven't really done a case where like a full company, and I've seen full companies, full remote companies with lots of fresh grads are doing okay.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
right?
Stanford, quite honestly, would be one of those. We're fully remote and we do have fresh grads that work for us.
So
And you're right. So you're right. It's not a like for everybody type thing. And you might be right that I might have bias of my age. And I may be like, well, that's what I needed. So I think that's what new graduates need too. And I might be wrong about that, but I do think it maybe has a place to be in the room. And I'm not sure.
yeah, and, I think, like, when you're looking at just from a new grad's perspective too, there's so much that's coming at them. I think even more so than when I graduated back in, like, I think '08, '09, and, like, if you think about it too, that's when social was just starting. Like,
Mhm.
you didn't have bombarded with all the different things that you have now. So, it wasn't as if, like, you're getting all the news and feedback and commentary and takes different people have, which I think is even harder now because you have to discern, "'Kay, what's fake, what's real, and what's a take that's from a very unique position that may not apply to me, there's so many things you have to look at, media, social media, there's so many elements there. I think it's harder to know what to do, where to go, and I think this is where it's like, you just gotta go and explore, especially and I think you have the beauty of time. Like, if you do something and it doesn't work out, okay, you maybe wasted a year, right? Instead of trying to get it through or sticking with a company, we've seen this too, sticking with companies for so long, thinking that, my break is coming, my break is coming, and you've been there for 15 years and you're like, what happened, right?
Yeah.
That's the last thing you want. So it's like, yeah, go explore as much as you can, find the things that you like doing, find like this is the time to do it. So when I mean go break things, literally go break things, like go out and explore and yeah, when people say, "Oh, you should pay your dues," I'm like, "What? No, it's a different world than back when I think you did pay your dues, you would be rewarded at the end.
Right.
But I think now if you pay your dues, you don't necessarily get the reward, right?
Yeah.
Especially right.
Even back then, it was a watch and a pat on the back, or today's version of that would be, pay your dues and we'll throw you a, pizza party once a month for employee appreciation, and you go, "This isn't what I thought I signed up for."
Yeah.
I know we're I go that's okay, go ahead, Carl. I was just gonna say, like, I wanna make sure within the last 10-ish minutes here too, because I feel like Andy and Jimmy, you guys haven't had an opportunity to share as much. I certainly can be quiet, so, I'd love to hear from you guys too, but go ahead and finish your point, Carl.
I also think the last piece is how many of the grads are in debt. I
Yes.
think that's a big, 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 like, right? Like, and it's a bigger debt than I think previous years. So you're like, okay, if it's that much in debt, that also limits your decision. Like, it's a big issue too, right? So that's something you have to think about. It's an
100%.
unfortunate thing. It impacts where you're going because you need a job fast to start paying off that debt.
Exactly.
Um,
You have less ability to go break stuff because there's a lot
yeah,
more riding on it. I have to pay
yeah,
down this debt or whatever,
yeah.
as opposed to maybe and look, I feel like Jen would say this. It is a privilege for people to get out of college without college debt. I did. I got out of college without college debt. My parents were able to pay for me and my brother. I understand that privilege and what it was for me. And it did allow me to sort of bounce around a little bit in those early years without, feeling a bigger pressure than I already had that I needed to settle into something and be successful right away because I had student debt. So yeah, when you're young, I mean, I'm not saying everybody comes out of college this way, but when you're young, potentially single, don't have kids, don't have a whole lot of like big life responsibilities. Sure, that's a great time to be flexible, break stuff, move around, find out what ignites you, what excites you, and then go try it. Andy and Jimmy, what do you guys think?
Well, okay, I'll give a quick breakdown. Number one, I think I'm in alignment with a lot of what Carl has said in terms of what the real expectation is. I think it really comes out to, if I was going to give it any advice, number one would be take the time to figure out the kind of life that you want. Um, there is a direct correlation to the balance between independence and freedom and stability, right? If you don't mind having less stuff, or you don't mind having less costs in your life, you can be more free, right? The more things that you want the car, you want the house, you want the family. That means you need more stability or find a way to pay for it, right? So in that fine balance between the two. Now, I personally lean more on the freedom side of things. Tied to this is then the next thing I would suggest is keep a mindset of you work for yourself. You are self-employed. You are your own boss. And if you can, form your own company, right? A lot of things in especially in the United States, it's very business focused, very economy focused in that sense, right? But if you keep that mindset, then it'll help you adjust to how you look at employment. So if you're coming out of college and you need to be employed while you get your business up and running, or what your true dreams and passions are, right? Because everybody needs a little bit of revenue or income coming in to handle those day-to-day bills. But if you keep this, I work for myself mindset, then you can see, oh, all right, I just need to work for them for 12 months or 24 months. And then I'm ready to move on to my next step. A lot of this does come to planning and realizing the kind of life that you're looking for, because the rest of the world doesn't care who you are. They really don't. They care about their concerns. They need people to fill this position. They need people to do this work for them. They don't care about your overall happiness. They're not there to help you be a better person or provide you a good life. That's your job. So I would try to keep that mindset when it comes to dealing with the world. Now, that isn't to say that you can't change the world. You can take your time, and especially with youth, you have a lot more energy to make those changes to those systemic changes. So go right ahead. I give you props, please do. But if you want to know what's kind of wave that you're going to be facing, or what kind of wall that you're going to have to cross, these are the kinds of things that you need to be aware of. For practicality of actually being involved in any employment or business, I'd say the number one rule that has really helped me throughout the decades is make other people's lives easier in their job. So if you need to get some sort of authorization or something like that from someone, or you need to get their buy-in, do the grunt work for them. It's a lot more work, absolutely, but you'll get a lot more yeses than nos. And the more time someone spends in a organization, the more no's you're gonna get. So if you can make it easy for them to say yes, then do what you need, because that's what you want for your goals, right? Um, Other than that, I think we've talked about, on the AI side of things, this is the basic soft skills, good communication, being able to, critically think about something, breaking it down, doing the work back. Okay, this is my goal. How do I work back from that to get to that? This is, if something happens or somebody said something, it's like, okay, if that is what the end result is, how did it happen to get to that end result? And then if you determine, oh, okay, well, they're full of BS, then and you make your choices. I know this might seem a little vague, but I'm trying to keep details as simple as possible here. But I think these kinds of direct applications of, this is what you're going to see in the next couple of years after your graduation, and this is how you can mitigate or navigate through those kinds of things, or those environments. I think these are the kind of skills that you'll need at a minimum, regardless of what industry or whatnot. And I did want to highlight like what you brought up with Gwyn about the practice internship.
Hmm.
It should be, like you said, Brian, but it isn't. The biggest thing that a college experience gives you is one, well-rounding, so you can touch upon a bunch of stuff. It is a place to experiment, right? But you will not be the expert in whatever field that you're trying to go to, or if you're a generalist, a bunch of different things. But depending on the industry, what it will allow you to do is network and meeting other people who are entering in the same space as you, and you maintaining those relationships will pay out over time because they at least understand you. And that's where a lot of the interpersonal stuff I think comes from, is the ability to, interact with people in the same at the same level as you in terms of your same similar experiences. Now, the interpersonal skills and things like that, I would lean more towards your life. All right. You can take your living experience in interpersonal and then move that into your working. It is slightly different, absolutely. But having those connections, having these people in your life and you affecting their lives as well is going to give you a much more fulfilling life overall. And that goes back to what I was originally saying. What kind of life do you want to have? And you can make choices based on what direction that you want. So you don't get put into the meat grinder. You're not just another cog. You're affecting change or you're living your life. You aren't born to work for somebody else. Your life is to live. Everything else is ancillary. So figuring out how to navigate the realities of keeping you alive, well, that's a whole nother thing. But I'll leave it at there before I go too far off.
No. Listen, you're getting a lot of love in the comments. Jude wants to know, can you be his parental figure? Other people seconded that. Jen said, I needed this today. Other people are laughing about that. Gareth is now quoting Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. Well done. Jude is talking about being all you could be in the army. So we have a lot of fun comments in there, but a lot of people are giving you props as well. By the way, Karl, you before that on there. Andy, how about this? How about you take us out, take us home? I don't mean wrap it up. I just mean like be our last words of guidance and wisdom here as we wrap up the show for today.
Okay, here we go. So this graduating class is here on this day, which is the commencement of a whole group of people going out now to make good in the world and achieve things that they desire. And they're also doing so at the commencement of an AI revolution, a total shift in how knowledge work happens. So for the person to your left and the person to your right, they are going to have access to AI and AI agents as a personal force multiplier.
Hmm.
And you need to be able to meet them by using AI and AI agents. And you'll also need to understand how to work with AI agents who may, in fact, be a force extension of the humans who are among you today as you go out into this working world. In this environment where Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini or others can ingest and process 100,000 word document in seconds, or you can provide some text instructions to Gamma and it'll generate beautiful analysis with graphic presentation on any topic or idea in a minute. You have tools available that, when I started out, just weren't even on the roadmap. Um, for many decades after I graduated from college, the operating system ended up being spreadsheets,
Hmm.
Excel, the earlier ones like VisiCalc and Lotus 123, but Excel ended up being the dominant player there. Ultimately, shifting to the web and making it available in Google Sheets and in other forms. So the AI and AI agents are going to be your operating system going forward. It's not going to be about spreadsheets anymore. Spreadsheets are one small aspect of what AI is going to enable you to do. The other aspect of AI's advent is that now everyone among you has broad access to expertise. So tools like Notebook LM, Deep Research, and Perplexity provide expert level knowledge and can teach you skills and make them accessible not just to you, but to everyone. So, unlike my generation, technical abilities that once required years of training, complex data analysis, comprehensive literature reviews, design work, etc., all of that's available to all of you on demand. So these now become the table stakes, the expected capabilities for every one of you as you go out into the world. There are 6 main areas where tools are available, and I invite you as the challenge that you have now going forward to make sure that you know what the best and easiest ways are to exploit the AI tools in each one of these 6 categories. Content generation tools, many of you have already started to play with that. Text, audio, image, video. You can generate things using AI at an incredibly accelerated pace. Data analysis and visualizations, the second one. Um, Excel Copilot, right? So you get Copilot inside Excel now, or you have Gemini inside Google Sheets. Data analysis is now available to you in natural language rather than having to memorize statistical formulas and understand the complexities of operating a spreadsheet. Number 3, workflow automation. This is becoming increasingly important because, many of the agentic features that we anticipate and are to some degree available in a few of the early agent-oriented tools, they may not be necessary. It could be that a simple workflow automation is enough, and there are profound tools now that are available to allow you to do multi-step processes on your own desktop or in your work environment, and you should understand and know what the best tools are and how to use them in workflow automation. Number 4, strategy and decision support. For you personally, as you go out to do, go developing the company of one that you are, what's the strategy? What's the best strategy for me? And you have tools now that can talk to you about that and provide decision support. And then learning how to do that for yourself will allow you to bring that same capability into the businesses that you contribute to or the businesses that you create. Number 5, software application coding, development, and operations. It wasn't so long ago that I would have recommended that, the smartest thing you can do is learn how to be a software engineer. Like that's the degree that you should be pursuing. That's no longer necessary, right? But you do need to understand how best to use the new agentic tools that can develop code and applications for you. And not only that, but mount them on the web and deliver a service out there of your own design and creation, completely coded by an AI assistant. Finally, just in terms of your personal productivity, whether you have to do your personal taxes or you have to draft a letter to, the county to complain about a certain situation you have, the AI tools are waiting there for you, and if you're not taking advantage of them, you're wasting some of your time, your time. So, take advantage of all of those tools out there. That's my biggest advice to you, and there's a wide range of specific tools that go beyond the main ones that you've heard of and that are the sort of collected capabilities. There's specific tools at the lowest levels for almost any specific thing that you wanna do. Go find them.
I love it. Really, really good advice. And of course, we'll end on the last one, which is follow this show. Come back day in and day out. If you're a new graduate, it doesn't hurt you to learn a little bit more about AI. We're here every weekday talking about it. So I think there's some really, really solid advice. Obviously, you guys have resonated with just our groups. And so I have no doubt with our live chat, that is, I have no doubt that lots of people who are going to watch this episode are going to get a lot out of it. So I just want to say thanks to Jyunmi, Andy, Karl, for all your guys' insight and wisdom. I do hope I'm positive that this is going to help somebody who's going to watch or listen to this show, and it's going to help them make better decisions. Maybe if they're a new graduate, but maybe it's just somebody who's looking to make a career change or a life change. I think there's a lot to be gained from this conversation as well. With that, we're going to wrap it up. Come back and hang out with us all the rest of the week. We have all sorts of new AI shows and topics. So we will be here hanging out. Join us. Until next time, guys, we'll see you.